Hey, Cindy,
Hi,
can you see
Carmen.
me?
Hi there.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
they'll probably mute you in a minute, but we can hear you.
okay.
Sometimes you don't know, I had taken my computer in for a tune-up, and I unplugged my speakers. And last week when I was trying to get on to one of the meetings, I had plugged it into the wrong place. So I had no volume. And until I figured it out, you just want to know that you can, they could hear me, but that I couldn't hear them. Let's just see.
So Cynthia, I have 6 p.m. I'm going to start the webinar and we should see attendees start to join us.
Do we have the presenters?
Not yet.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Cindy.
Welcome, Shani.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm not sure of do you want me to start first? Do you guys have any business you need to take care of or anything?
No, not really. We're waiting for a couple of more people to come on.
Okay.
And we have another presenter tonight as well. But
Okay.
I'd like to at least introduce you before you begin your.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll be here. Just let me know when you're ready for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna give it 2 more minutes. If we don't get any more people on, then we're gonna start. One more minute. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and begin. Tonight we have two presentations. One of our presenters is here. Her name is Shani L. Ordain. She's the Community and Government Affairs Liaison for Live on New York. In case you guys don't know, April is National Organ Donor Month. And she's here to speak to the importance of being an organ donor and how to make your wishes known. So with that, I'm gonna take it away to Shani Ordain. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I do need to call attendance.
Oh, we didn't do roll call. Okay, I'm sorry. We're gonna have to put you on hold for a minute. Thank
Sorry
you,
about that.
Jeremy.
No problem. I'm gonna mute everybody. When I call your name, please unmute yourself, acknowledge I've called your name, and then mute yourself again. I am only going to call committee members, board members. If you are not a member of this committee, I'm just gonna write your name down. Let's start with Cynthia Gonzalez.
Present.
Thank you. Pat Ruiz.
Present.
Thank you. Grisel Amador.
Present.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Cynthia Felix.
Present.
Thank you. Anthony Giglio. Christina Lem. Arelis Martinez. Gloria Rodriguez Navoa. Dr. Carmen Rivera.
Present.
Thank you. Roll has been called.
So with that, we're gonna go back to Ms. Ordain.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me here to be with you. As Ms. Gonzalez let you know, it is National Donate Life Month. It is for us a very important month. We are honoring donor heroes and bringing awareness to organ donation, the importance of it, organ, eye, and tissue donation. all very, very important. I think a lot of focus normally is put on just organ donation, the kidneys, the heart and lungs. But tissue donation and eye donation are actually just as important. They save and change lives just as much as an organ. So they are all very vital. And during this month, we champion all of that. So which is why I'm here, is just to share some information with you, educate you a little bit, answer any of your questions, debunk some myths, enlighten you about a little bit. So is it okay for me to share my screen? Do I have capability to do that?
Yep, I just have to make you a co-host. That'll take one moment.
Okay. I have a brief presentation that I will run you through.
You can share your screen now.
Awesome. Thank you. Does everyone see that? Great.
We can see it.
Great. Okay, so I'm just moving some things out of my way. So come on. In the beginning. Okay. So saving lives through organ donation. I put in here a brief survey. It works much better if I was able to do a poll. We didn't have an opportunity to do that, but maybe we can just have a little brief, just maybe 1 minute discussion, just kind of gathering what your knowledge is of organ donation as it stands right now. And you can either throw it in the chat, unmute yourself, we can just have a conversation. How many, and if you feel comfortable, how many folks are enrolled currently as an organ donor? All or none of you, maybe a few? Nobody? Okay. Are any of you supportive of organ donation? Oh, thank you, Sylvia. And again, only if you feel comfortable. You do not have to share this information.
Shawnee, I'm not sure how you want us to respond, but I was raising my hand. I am an organ donor.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. This is, kind of helps guide the conversation a bit. So as I'm going through the presentation, please, if there's anything that I have not made clear, any questions that you have, feel free to unmute yourself. Tell me to stop, say it again, or clarify. And if I do not have an answer for you, I promise you I will get back to you as soon as possible with a proper answer. Do I have anyone on the line that is just not comfortable at all with organ, eye, or tissue donation? So not that so you know about it, but you are just not comfortable registering as an organ donor. Okay. Cynthia, I see your hand raised for that one. Okay.
Yeah, my thing is, I am a supporter of organ donation, even though I am not registered as an organ donor.
Mm-hmm.
But, the question that always lurks in my mind is that if you are a person that's going to be viewed, upon your death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't see that your organs are gone or anything like that. But I mean, what exactly is tissue donation?
Tissue donation we've done face transplants. Tissue donations are, burn victims. I actually had the opportunity to speak with a mortician that worked with some people that were recently deceased that had done organ donation. And she went through quite a bit of information with me about how they prepare, how they would prepare you or prepare your loved one for a funeral, for you to be viewed and you look just as presentable as your family would want you to. You wouldn't look all disheveled, you wouldn't look deformed, even if it was tissue, even if it was corneas. They would do what they can to make sure that your body is preserved in a way that you're able to be seen. We want to, in every step of this process, we want to make sure that we are respecting the family's wishes. respecting the patient's wishes, the donor's wishes, that we are very, very respectful. So if that is a concern, if they're not being cremated, if that is a concern, it will definitely be a priority to make sure that any wishes are followed.
But what precisely, what tissues would be, would people be looking to donate is my question. Because, okay, maybe they're not gonna take the skin off of my face and whatever, and I can be viewed but what?
Oh, yeah.
What
Yeah, they
other?
wouldn't take skin from your face if that is something that is important to you, but I'm sure they would take skin probably from lower extremities. But what I will do, Ms. Gonzalez, is get back to you with a factual answer. I'm at this point kind of going off of hearsay. That is not a question that I've received before, but I will get back to you with something very factual and
Thank you.
more information on that. No problem at all. I'm just going to make some notes of that. I saw another hand raised. Was there another question?
There are
Yes,
a couple
Cynthia.
of hands up. I'd be happy to call them for you.
Okay, thank you.
Felix, you're next.
Hi, I had a question. So I am in support of organ donation, but I had a question. Suppose you have pre-existing conditions that don't make you a candidate for organ donation. Is there such a thing? Like
Right.
you have cancer, or you had cancer, you have heart disease. So you yourself, your organs weren't necessarily at peak. Is there?
Right.
So that's my question.
Right. Well, we'll actually get to that in the presentation, but the short answer is, and this is what I tell anyone that asks a question like that, let the surgeon, the transplant surgeon decide. Let that team, because they test your organs, everything is tested thoroughly to make sure that the organs, the eye, the tissue that you are donating is in optimal condition or in the best condition to be able to be transplanted into a recipient and that they thrive. So if there's anything going on with one of your organs that doesn't make it a good match, they will not use it. There are definitely cases where people are open to donation, they're registered, they want to donate. And unfortunately, for some reason or another, they're just not able to do it. But we just tell people all the time, do not make your own designation that you are not able to donate. Let the surgical team transplant team make that decision. A lot of people think, oh, I'm too old, or, oh, I have this going on. Our oldest donor was in her 90s. So maybe it wasn't the heart that she donated. I'm not exactly sure what it was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the heart, but maybe it was a liver. Maybe she took excellent care of herself throughout life and she was able to donate a liver, or maybe it was skin. But maybe it was bone. There are other ways that you can be an organ, eye, or tissue donor, but just let the transplant team make that decision.
I have Pat Ruiz next.
Hi, Ms. Ruiz.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for the presentation. You actually answered one of my questions. One of my questions was, is there a maximum age to donate? So you already responded to that.
No.
And I'm curious about when you say eye donation. Does the person's vision have to have been perfect? Is it just the cornea? Is it the whole eye? That's my question.
I will find out specifically. What I have seen are corneas and entire eyes.
Okay, so that goes back to what Cynthia, and I know you're going to get back to us. That goes back to the question that Cynthia asked. If you want to be viewed, can they make it look like the person did not donate their eyes?
And you can also, if you don't want to donate your eyes, you don't have to. Donation form, you can put on there exactly what you're willing to donate, or you can donate it all.
Right.
But again, we also tell folks to make sure that they have these conversations with your family as well, and let them know what your wishes are, what your concerns are. You know, as I said, those wishes we will do our very best to make sure that they are a priority.
Right. Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. So that was a good little chat. So I'm going to run through the rest of the presentation. So I want to tell you a little bit about Live On New York. We are an organ procurement organization. We're a nonprofit that facilitates organ tissue donation for those awaiting life-saving transplants in New York metro area. So our service area, our catchment area, if you will, goes as far north as Dutchess County, as far east as Suffolk County, as far west as Pike County, and we handle all of the 5 boroughs. For me, my main area is Brooklyn. So I'm hopeful that I will be continuing to work with your board to do a lot more stuff in the community with you, you know, as you are championing better health and healthy living in your catchment area. What we do, I've told you a little bit of what we do. What we directly support the local hospitals, our transplant centers, and our donor and recipient families. So we work on both ends. And we support them from start to finish, even if, as I mentioned to you earlier, that some people want to be donors and are not able, we still support that family through that process. You'd be, you know, maybe hard to believe, you know, although nothing happened, they should be fine. It's still very traumatic, still very hard to deal with. So we work with those families from start to finish. Our main goal, and actually a lot of our recipients and donor families have come back to be volunteers with Live On New York, and they share their stories. They table with us out in the community. They're absolutely amazing. We exist to save lives through advocacy, educating our communities, building strong relationships to break down barriers, which is basically what I'm here today to do. And hopefully the relationship that we will build, we will break down barriers in the mutual communities that we serve. So real quick, just to kind of run through some donation basics and debunking some myths. So one person can save 8 lives. You have 2 lungs, a liver, 2 kidneys, a heart, a pancreas, and intestines. And through tissue donation, you can improve up to 50 to 75 lives. I don't know if you all are aware or remember several months ago, NYPD police officer Wilbert Mora that passed away in the line of duty. He donated his organs and he was able to save 5 New Yorkers. Shortly thereafter, there was a firefighter that passed away in the line of duty. He also, he did skin donation. And as it says here, he put us in the position to be able to change 50 to 75 lives. Common causes leading to transplant. So diabetes and hypertension can result in the need for a kidney transplant. How many of us know someone that has diabetes, or how many of us have diabetes? You know, so we all know someone that is dealing with some sort of health issue. Untreated hepatitis and cirrhosis can lead to someone requiring a liver transplant. Congestive heart failure and cardiomyopathy are conditions that may require a heart transplant. How does organ donation happen? So organ, eye, and tissue donation only happens when a patient dies in a hospital and has been declared dead by a doctor. A patient must be signed up as an organ donor, or authorization has to be granted by a family member or legal guardian on the patient's behalf. If we do not have authorization, if a hospital does not have authorization, organ donation will not happen. They will not proceed like, oh, he's a great candidate. We need, it's not going to happen if we do not have authorization. Candidates for donation must have been placed on a ventilator prior to their death or have died while on a ventilator. So you have to die in a very specific way as well. Extensive testing is performed to ensure the organs are healthy and to identify a matching transplant recipient. So to our question earlier about, you know, if someone has things, if they have cancer or they have things going on in their body, extensive testing is performed. COVID positive patients have done transplants. HIV positive people have done transplants. These are very controlled and tested situations. So but it is happening. Medicine is being advanced every day, but extensive testing, as it says here, is performed to make sure that the organs are healthy and safe. And just to debunk a myth, the doctor will not purposely let you die. They want you to live. The doctors that are trying to save your life are not in any way affiliated with the transplant team that is going to handle the transplant. So they are not connected. Oftentimes, the team that is working to save your life does not even know that you're an organ donor. The EMT that comes to the scene, if something happens out, in the street, that team that comes to work on you to save your life, they don't know if you're an organ donor, and they're not stopping to check. They're trying to save your life. There's no benefit for them to let you die at all, whether on, in the field or in the hospital. There's no benefit in letting you die. They are there to save your life, and that is exactly what they're going to do until there is nothing else that can be done. So I just need to move this. I can't be. So how are organ donations matched to recipients? Several factors are considered when matching an organ to a waiting recipient, waiting patient. So blood type, body mass, rank on the national transplant waiting list, geographic proximity between the donor and the recipient. Information gathered from medical tests are used to identify the best match for the transplant waiting list. It is illegal to make organ donation matches based on race, gender, religion, income status, social status, or celebrity. When I'm, in the community and I'm having conversations, I have often heard that they feel that their organs are going to be reserved. And I'm typically in communities of color. They feel that their organs are going to be reserved for rich or famous white people. And what I tell them is that is not the case at all. That is not the case. It is actually very illegal. I can't speak to what happens on the black market or out in the street, but what happens in the hospitals is just what I read to you. Now, what you can do a direct donation. So if there's someone that that needs a kidney, you can definitely elect to, I would like to see if I'm a match. And if you can designate organ to go to a specific person that is in need, that is on the transplant waiting list. So you definitely can do that. What we can't do is just put an organ on hold for, I've had people ask, well, I just want someone from my ethnicity to receive this organ. We can't do that. Information gathered from medical tests are used to identify the best match for a transplant waiting list. It is illegal to make. I just want to make sure I'm touching on everything. Geographic proximity between the donor and the recipient. And of course, we want to make sure that you and the recipient or the donor and the recipient are close enough, because this has to happen relatively quickly within, several hours. We want to make sure that we get this organ, the tissue to whom it needs to go to. And again, it could be several people going in different directions, but they need to be close enough that we can get those get them tested, get these organs to where they need to be while they are still viable. So we'll go to our next. So these are, so other myths and misconceptions are organ donation is against my religion. In many religions, organ donation is seen as an opportunity to save lives, extend one's blessings, and a final act of kindness and generosity by many religions. So, we've been working closely with as many faiths as we can, and, and communities of faith, just to have more conversation about organ donation and transplantation. and just begin to move the needle to not let organ donation and transplantation be seen as something bad. You know, it is a gift. You're giving a gift of life, and that is a wonderful thing to do, you know, but we just have to have these conversations so people begin to see it that way a bit more. We have some communities that feel, or people that feel, that I'm too old, too sick to be an organ donor, as we discussed in depth a little earlier. Our oldest person was 93 years old. So again, we want to leave that decision to our transplant team. I won't be able to have a normal funeral. Organ, eye, and tissue donation recovery for donation are surgical procedures treated with the utmost care and respect. Open casket viewing is possible. Live on New York works with the family's time frames for burial. So again, your wishes, your family's wishes are definitely a priority. We take it very seriously. So I wanted to give you a quick snapshot of your catchment area, which I believe, as I saw on the website, is Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace. Is that correct? All right, awesome. So those zip codes are 11215, 11218, 11220, and 11232. And I'm just kind of giving you what's going on in those zip codes versus all of Kings County, which is all of Brooklyn. So these numbers are based on, for all of 2020. And the last time I pulled these numbers was March 4th of 2022 is the last time these numbers were updated. And they're based on OPTN data. So the amount of people in all of Kings County that were on the wait list were 1,376 people. In the zip codes that you service, you had 94 people on the wait list. The majority of those people needed a kidney. As you can see in Kings County, over 1,200 people needed a kidney. 85 of the 94 on the wait list for your catchment area needed a kidney. Of the 1,376 people on the wait list, we had 86 wait list deaths in Brooklyn. Your catchment area had 8 of those. Transplants that took place in 2021 in Brooklyn, 429. 355 of those were deceased, 74 were living. For your catchment area, you had 30 transplants, 27 were deceased, 30 were living. As you can see, deceased transplantation happens more frequently than living transplantation. The number of donors for all of Brooklyn were 120, 57 were deceased, 63 were living. Donors for your catchment area were 10, 2 were deceased, 8 were living. So this is just to give you a quick snapshot. We can definitely mine these numbers a bit more to give you a little more information. We can take a look at ethnicities if that is, something you're interested in knowing a bit further. As you do some programming and kind of see what your target areas are. So we can mine this information a bit more if you'd like. But just to give you a quick snapshot of, what's going on in your area. And just want to call your attention really quickly to the kidney. As I mentioned, you had, of the 94 people on your wait list, 85 are waiting for a kidney. It is the most transplanted organ across the board. And unfortunately, in New York, and I don't know if this is across the board, but it's very typical for people to wait 7 to 8 years for a kidney. And during that time, they suffer through dialysis and all other types of pain and discomfort. And we would just like to see what we could do to lessen those numbers and lessen that wait. So some of our faces of donation, just want to kind of give you an idea of what we have here. And talking about age limits, the lady here to the far right, Katrina Erskine, she has a beautiful story. Her son was 5 weeks old. He passed away from SIDS, and she made the very difficult decision to donate his organs. And her little baby was able to save 2 other babies. This young man right here, Aiden, I believe Aiden is probably about 12 or 13 now. In this picture, he's probably about 8. But he received 2 kidneys. This beautiful young lady here, I believe her name is Jessica. She was waiting for several years for a heart. She actually just received her heart at the end of March. So beautiful people, beautiful stories, as you can see, all ethnicities, age ranges. But just to put a face to donation. So why Brooklyn Community Board 7? So we service the same communities. Live on New York and Brooklyn Community Board 7. Some of our engagement opportunities are as what we're doing right now, Donate Life Month. You allowed me to come and speak with you and kind of educate you a little bit on organ donation. This happens every April for us and other organ procurement organizations. It's national. The next thing that'll be coming up is National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month. That happens in August. Organ Donor Enrollment Day in October. Donor Sabbath, which happens in November. These are the main initiatives for our organization that we would love to partner on with you in some form or capacity. Some of the ways that we potentially could work together, because I also want to make sure that our partnership flows both ways. I don't want it to always be that I need to come and speak about organ donation or, educate someone about organ donation. What you are championing in your communities, what is important to you, the health committee, I want to be there to help champion your initiatives as well. I'm not sure if you guys work on voting, but these are just some of the things that I thought about. Your health workshops. I'm sure you'll be doing stuff surrounding voting and getting people out to vote, getting them registered to vote. We'll definitely would love to partner with you on stuff like this and any other ideas that you may have and things going on. Ms. Ruiz, your hand is raised.
I was curious as to your donors in the CV7 district, the ethnicities, because I know and I don't mind sharing, when my dad passed, they had asked if we would be willing to donate his organs. And one of the things that he felt before he died was like, I want to go with everything. I don't want anything missing. So I was curious as to, in the Hispanic community, are you finding hesitancy in folks volunteering to donate their organs?
It is actually a concern across all communities, but definitely it is much harder in communities of color, Hispanic communities, Black communities, Asian communities. It is very difficult. There's a lack of trust. There's a lack of knowledge. And then there is just the fear, even just surrounding having conversations about death. It's taboo. No one really wants to talk about it, but it's, distrust and a lack of knowledge, but definitely, to very specifically answer your question about the Hispanic community, yes. But they're not unique. I'm seeing this very same thing in Asian communities and Black communities as well.
So my last question would be, so do you have the representatives in your organization that speak all the languages?
We are working on that. We handle, I do have a colleague that speaks Spanish. We have someone that speaks Chinese and I think Mandarin. We have literature definitely in a lot of different languages. As far as having translators, that is definitely something that we are trying to do to make sure that our team is diverse enough to be able to go into all these communities and be able to have conversations. Right now for Brooklyn, there is me. So I do try to make sure that when I partner with organizations, especially in those in Hispanic communities, if there's some, if I need to have someone come with me to translate, or if the organization that I'm working with would be open, to having someone translate for me. If we have people that do not speak, English, at all, then, we just have to work through that, because I want to make sure that we are communicating properly to everyone and making everyone feel welcome and understanding the information as it's being presented.
Thank you.
No problem.
Cool.
Okay.
Cynthia, you're the chair. You don't have to raise your hand.
Okay. No, I want to give everybody an opportunity, but my question is, how competitive is this job that you do? Like, how many organizations are out there trying to do exactly what you're doing? And what are the challenges involved?
Well, it's not necessarily a competition because we have designated areas. So there aren't competing OPOs in the same area that are vying, to get people registered. Some of us do better than others statistic wise, depending on your area that you're working in, just may have better rates of people becoming registered organ donors. But so far as competition, it's really not a competition in that regard. But the challenges, it is challenging, and just kind of speaking to a lot of what we've spoken about today is debunking myths. People hold very closely to what they've heard, what they've seen sensationalized on TV, old wives' tales, and some of it is, I don't want to say founded, but I understand some of it, even if it's the distrust of government, distrust of establishments across the board. And again, I work primarily in communities of color that have been, a lot of them have been disenfranchised, and a lot of them do not trust the establishment, quote, air quotes. So that is probably the hugest challenge, is just getting people to trust that no one is going to let you die. Again, death is a scary thing for a lot of people. For most of us, death is nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to go sooner than they feel they're supposed to. So the thought of donating your organs and that becoming more important than saving your life is very scary. And because of what people have seen in movies and, back alley stories, the black market, they've come to believe it and don't want to, they don't believe different.
Yeah, but we have had in our past, one of our former district attorneys here did prosecute a funeral home that was like taking bones out of people. I mean, that was a big scandal.
Yeah.
So like people, I mean, if you're going to be an organ donor, then I suppose that you won't have to worry about your funeral home selling your parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I definitely do.
That happened here right here in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And that was shocking.
Right.
And
then you have things like that happen. That
exactly
tear away at people's trust.
Exactly. I mean, once you're dead, it's not a matter of you trusting anybody, but it's a matter of, what your family has to go through.
Yeah. But it actually, I mean, once you're dead, right, but it's making that decision prior to your death to become a registered organ donor. So if you don't trust that things are going to happen in your favor, that everyone is going to do what they're supposed to do, if you don't trust prior to, you're not going to register to be an organ donor if you don't trust.
That's
So
correct.
it's very, very important ahead of time.
But now another question is these surgeons, right, that are going to do this upon your death. I'm sure that there are timelines. I mean, there are timelines to get a viable organ to a recipient. So does every single hospital have these teams?
Every single hospital has a protocol that they follow in our catchment area. And as I mentioned, and we read in the slide, you do have to pass away in a very specific way. When that happens, they do contact our organization. So the team that is the surgeons and hospital staff that are working to save your life, when you pass away, or when passing is imminent, they will definitely contact our organization to come and speak with the family.
So if you were never put on a ventilator, Ms. Ordain, you are not a candidate?
You would have had to have died on a ventilator. So let's back up really quickly to that slide.
So is there an exception? Like you said, when people die, let's say in a car accident or whatever, they never got on a ventilator, but they were a registered donor.
Now, we're not sure exactly what, now, when you're in the field and something happens to you in the field, the EMTs are doing what they can to save your life. They're going to get you to a hospital. You may be placed on a ventilator at a hospital. You may not be placed on a ventilator while you're out in an ambulance.
But what if you're already deceased?
Then you wouldn't be a candidate.
I see.
What I'd like to do, Ms. Gonzalez, is just to make sure that I'm communicating this to you properly. I will follow up with you. You can kind of read in writing.
Because when people go like to apply for your driver's license,
Mhm.
they ask you then, and people say, yes, I want to be a donor, right?
Mhm.
But if they were never put on a ventilator, then they're not even a candidate.
Right. But most people are brought to a hospital and they're doing everything they can to save your life in the field. Is what we have here. A patient must be signed up. It has to be candidates for donation must have been placed on a ventilator prior to their death or have died while on a ventilator. So if they were not placed on a ventilator prior to their death or died while on a ventilator, they will not be a candidate for donation. So
is that for the purpose of the
specific way.
preservation of the organ?
That is, if it happens that way. If it happens that way, it will preserve, it keeps the body functioning. The person is not alive. The ventilator itself is doing the work for the body. But the person is brain dead or has suffered cardiac death. So the heart has stopped or the brain is dead. So those are the two ways. But the ventilator is not keeping the person alive. It's just keeping the body functions happening. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because I think what people believe is that if they're seeing breathing and movement, if they're on a ventilator and their chest is moving, they're breathing, there's vitals, that does not mean that they're alive. If they've been declared dead, they are dead. That ventilator is just keeping the body going. And if they have agreed to organ donation, that they will stay on the ventilator. So the body will continue to work to keep those organs, okay, for the very specific amount of time.
Thank you.
Does that make sense though?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Questions? Okay, yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. It was very illuminating in many ways. But you mentioned that you provide support to both the donors and the recipients. Could
Mhm.
you elaborate a little bit more on what kinds of support you provide?
It's emotional support. We have support groups because it is a very, as you can imagine, if I even speak to you about the picture of the mom whose son passed away at 5 weeks, and she made the decision. So our organization, someone from our organization would spoke to her about, or, donating organs. Once she makes that decision, she's a part of our family. So we help her through that process in any way that we can. And even as you can see, it happened 21 years ago. As a matter of fact, we have an event with her this Friday. She's going back to the hospital where oh gosh, I always get choked up when I talk about her. I just baby. So anyway, she's going back to the hospital where she lost her son, just to say thank you to the team. And of course, the majority of the team no longer works at the hospital, but will be just going to talk to their prenatal staff and their pediatric staff, and just to say thank you for the work that they do. But to answer your question, we are a part of her life from the moment she made that decision, and the same on the recipient side. Once that recipient receives their, as a matter of fact, this young lady here to the far left, and her name is not Jessica, it's Angelica. While she was waiting for her heart, we worked with her, supported her, like I said, with support groups, getting her information. We stayed in touch with her. When she has her heart now again, like at the end of March. We are continuing to stay in touch with her, check in on her, supporting her through this process. Hopefully she'll continue to be a volunteer with Live On New York. So we just support those families in any way that we possibly can, within our purview, but they're a part of our family, and even if the young lady here to the far right, even if she had wanted to donate her son's organs and it wasn't possible, she would still be a part of our family. We would still work with her, still support her in any way that we could.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So that is my presentation. I hope that I was able to move the needle a little bit for some of you and answer your questions properly. I know I've got some info that I need to report back on. Was that you, Ms. Gonzalez, that had the question?
No, but I was hoping that you could probably send the community board a copy of your presentation.
Of course.
Thank you. That will be very helpful.
Okay, of course. But I, really hope that we'll be able to work together in the community. If you have tabling events, if there are any other opportunities. Oh, Miss Agosto? Did I say that properly? Your hand is raised. Was that for a question?
I have to give her permission to talk. Sylvia, you could unmute yourself.
Hi, I was wondering if you would be able to like do a small presentation at the end of a mass in church.
Of course. Most
Or
definitely.
take a link. Yeah, okay. So we could get your information through CV7, right?
Yeah, and I can put it in the chat for you. I'll go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay.
And I'll put my contact.
We don't have a chat.
Oh, I'm seeing that now. Okay. Well, then, yes, get my information through the board.
Yeah, because I would have to speak to the priest in our church.
Okay.
But I also have family who had a kidney transplant, and it was, she was diagnosed at the age of 10 with lupus, and, it was very important that she get a transplant. And, it was, it was her life changed because of it. I mean,
Yeah.
she, it's just so important to have this It's so, it's just, I don't understand why people don't do it, but I respect, whatever they decide,
Yeah,
but I believe in it. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's my,
I do too. My sister received a kidney and a pancreas
wow.
6 years ago. My sister is my absolute best friend. I don't know what my life would be like without my big sister.
Wow.
So I'm there with you while I respect, because people they're valid and they're healthy concerns.
Right.
Have to continue to have these conversations. I think just having the conversation about death,
Yeah.
is so important.
But to give life to
Our
somebody
affairs
else,
and giving life. Yes.
when you're not gonna need any of this stuff if
Yeah.
it's your time to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much for your presentation.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate your time. Because I know you guys have tons that you're doing. From what I understand, you do really great work in the community. So I'm honored that you gave me this time to share with you.
Thank you. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
so much.
And I hope this isn't the end of the road. Like I said, I really want to work with you guys in the community. And again, I want it to flow both ways, not just me coming with my hands out. If you have, issues and things that you're championing in the community and you need hands on deck, please give me a shout out. If I can come and be there and support you, I want to come. So please let me know. Keep me in mind.
We will. We
Okay.
absolutely will.
Awesome. Thank you.
So much, Ms. Ordain, for coming and giving us this presentation and educating us on the importance of this mission that you guys have. It is very important and we all benefit from it. So we thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. Thank you. You all have a great evening.
You also.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. So Jeremy, I don't really see the other presenters in attendance.
They never showed. We'll have to find out what happened.
Okay, I think that I'll try to follow up. I'll try to see if I can follow up with them and do it at some later time. But everybody, I thank you all for coming and attending this important, informational, committee training. I feel like I learned so much.
Cynthia, take care of yourself. Be well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was very interesting, Cynthia. And I'll call you later regarding our joint assignment.
I look forward to hearing from you.
Okay.
Night, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Good night.
Good night.